In the Venda language, it's referred to as the Hill of Jackals. It dates back to around the 10th century. Later, it became one of the earliest stratified societies in South Africa. This kingdom, as some have called it, was a complex culture where elites ensured the health of a flourishing international trade economy. A small African kingdom in southern Africa connected with places as far away as India and China. Today, we're going to discuss one of the mysteries behind the Kingdom of Mapungubwe. What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and contributing to this content. The link to Patreon is in the description box below. We're going to be discussing a minor mystery of the Mapungubwe Kingdom in South Africa. There is so much we don't know about Mapungubwe, but the evidence from its material culture gives us some interesting clues. Keep in mind that this video is intended to document the mystery and also to present a theory from one scholar, so please be sure to keep that context in mind. The discovery of Mapungubwe left apartheid South African thinkers in a bit of a precarious position. How could this sophisticated African society so long ago been the work of local Bantu peoples? From the moment of its discovery, a story developed that gave prominence to white heroes, as could only be expected of a site for which the colonial elite were both the discoverer and the exegete. Just as elsewhere, colonial settlers and Western readers were fond of a white queen of the Atlanteans. Around the 11th century, a Bantu-speaking people gained prominence at Mapungubwe. They were largely a pastoral and agricultural group of people who were able to amass wealth because of long-distance trade. They exported valuable items such as gold and ivory. Mapungubwe is significant because it's one of the earliest stratified societies in the region with a clear hierarchical structure. Mapungubwe elites lived in stone houses on top of the hill, and the rest of the population lived below. Mapungubwe is a flat, topped hill accessed only by climbing 3 ladders built into the rock wall. The houses on the east side of the hilltop were larger than those in the town at its base and were screened by a stone wall. Nearby was the royal burial ground. Stone terraces on the slopes housed wealthy people and the elite. The royal court was set amongst large boulders that had broken off from the hill. Mapungubwe was a thriving society between the 11th and 14th centuries. They were beneficiaries of Indian Ocean trade, connecting their network all the way to India and China. This made them very wealthy and set the stage for a robust ruling elite. Archaeologists discovered the tombs of Mapungubwe elites, and it was there that they discovered what became the most iconic visual representation of Mapungubwe civilization, the golden rhinoceros. This golden rhinoceros captured the imagination, a clear symbol of African power, wealth, and international connectedness. The golden rhinoceros has an interesting story to tell once we take a closer look. Excavators and others noticed that the golden rhino only had one horn, indicative of Asian rhinos. African rhinos have 2 horns, so the questions began to arise. Scholar François Favel sums it up well. It has long been pointed out that unlike the African rhinoceros, which has 2 horns, the golden rhinoceros of Mapungubwe has only one. Its excavators, custodians, and restorers were categorical on this point. It had never had a second horn. For this reason, some scholars have considered the rhinoceros, emblematic of the site and the history of South Africa as a whole, an imported object. That is unlikely for its golden carapace. Studies done on the geochemical fingerprint of the metal from several gold objects found at Mapungubwe point to a regional provenance. I find it fascinating that such an iconic object, visually representative of a whole African culture, may possibly not be African at all. Or perhaps it's more complicated than that. There are multiple possibilities of why and how a one-horned Asian rhino sculpture would be found at a site of an African kingdom. Scholar Francoise Favel ultimately settles on the following. We will thus stick with the hypothesis that the wooden figurine was perhaps made elsewhere than Africa and was gilded on the banks of the Limpopo as a sign of its appropriation by royalty. In other words, it may have been sculpted somewhere in Asia and African craftsmen placed it in gold as a symbol of wealth for Mapungubwe elites. Although this can be seen as a simple explanation and one that could suffice, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Whatever the case may be, it shows just how connected Mapungubwe was to the global economy and how this connected global community contributed to their wealth. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help in its continued production, consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.